I used to believe my life was simple and safe. "We're steady," Ethan always said, and I trusted those words more than my own thoughts. When he smiled at me across the kitchen table and asked, "Coffee or tea today?" I felt chosen. I answered, "Whatever you're having," because my world fit easily inside his. "Don't do that," he laughed once. "You should choose." "I did," I replied. "I chose you." He kissed my forehead, and that small gesture convinced me love was enough to protect me from anything. I planned my future around his schedule, his dreams, his timing. One day, he said, "We'll move somewhere quieter." I nodded quickly. "Anywhere is fine, as long as we're together." Lena used to tease me about it. "You're too soft," she said, stirring her drink. "You disappear if he asks." I smiled and said, "That's what love is." She raised an eyebrow but didn't argue, and I took her silence as approval. Sophia worried more openly. "Iris, you give too much," my sister told me during late calls. "What happens if he stops giving back?"
"He won't," I said.
"He's not that kind of man." She sighed. "Just don't lose yourself." "I won't," I promised, even though I wasn't sure who I was without him. Ethan liked routine. "I like knowing you'll be here," he said one night. "I'll always be here," I answered without thinking. The words felt romantic then, not dangerous. There were moments I ignored. Missed calls. Short replies. When I asked, "Are you okay?" he said, "You worry too much." "I just care," I replied softly. "I know," he said, but his eyes looked elsewhere. Lena brushed it off when I mentioned it. "Men get distracted," she said. "Don't overthink."
So I didn't.
Overthinking felt like betrayal. I remember lying beside Ethan, listening to his breathing, and thinking, if this ends, I won't survive it. That fear made me cling tighter. I needed this life to stay exactly as it was. One evening, Ethan said, "You trust me, right?" "Of course," I said instantly. "Good," he replied. "That's important." I didn't hear the warning in his voice. I heard reassurance. I heard safety. I heard a future that felt promised, not fragile. I believed in us. I believed in the life I built around his words. And I believed that love, once chosen, could never quietly choose to leave me behind. I noticed the change in Ethan through his silence first. "You didn't call last night," I said one morning, trying to sound calm. He shrugged. "I was tired. You know work's been crazy." "You could have texted." He smiled like I was joking. "You're counting now?" I laughed with him, even though my chest felt tight. "I just missed you." "I was right here," he replied, checking his phone. "You worry too much." The words stayed with me all day. When I asked again that night, "Did I do something wrong?" he sighed. "Why do you always assume the worst?" "I don't," I said quickly. "I just want to understand." "There's nothing to understand," he said. "Relax." Lena repeated the same word when I met her later. "Relax," she said, waving her hand. "You're reading into nothing." "He feels distant," I admitted. "So what?" she replied. "Relationships have phases." "I guess," I said, holding on to her confidence like a shield. Still, the excuses kept piling up. "I'll be late," Ethan said one evening. "How late?" "Don't start," he warned. "I'm not starting anything," I said softly. "Good," he replied, "because I don't have the energy." That hurt more than I let myself admit. I remembered the things I had given up for us. Friends I stopped seeing. Opportunities, one delayed. When he once said, "Thank you for being patient," I felt proud, like patience was proof of love. Sophia noticed my hesitation during a call. "You're quieter," she said. "I'm fine," I answered. "You always say that," she replied. "Are you sure?" "Yes," I insisted, even as doubt burned inside me. When Ethan forgot our plans one weekend, I joked, "Guess I'm not memorable."
He laughed.
"Don't be dramatic." "I'm not," I said, forcing a smile. "I'm kidding." "Good," he replied, "because I hate drama." So I swallowed my questions. I told myself love meant understanding, not demanding. I told myself trust meant silence. When fear whispered, "Something is wrong," I answered it with excuses. One night, I asked carefully, "Are we okay?" He looked at me like I was speaking another language. "Why wouldn't we be?" "I don't know," I said. "I just feel." "Feelings aren't facts," he interrupted. I nodded, ashamed. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe loving him meant ignoring the cracks. I chose his comfort over my truth. I chose love, even as it quietly began slipping through my fingers. I heard my name before I saw anything. "Iris doesn't know," Ethan said, his voice low and careless. Another voice answered, soft and amused. "She never notices." I froze outside the door, my hand still on the handle, my heart already racing. "Amelia, we can't rush this," he continued. "Amelia." The name hit me like a slap. "She trusts you too much," she said. "That's her problem." I pushed the door open before I could stop myself. "What problem?" I asked. My voice didn't sound like mine. Ethan turned, his face draining of color. "Iris." Amelia looked at me slowly, then smiled.
"Oh,
"You're here." I laughed once, sharp and broken. "So this is her." "It's not what you think," Ethan said. "Then explain it," I demanded. "Explain her name in your mouth." He didn't rush toward me.
he didn't reach out. He just stood there."
"You're overreacting." My hands started shaking. "Overreacting to what?" "To a conversation," he replied. "You weren't supposed to hear it. That hurt more than the truth." "So there's a truth," I said. Amelia crossed her arms. "Do you really want details?" "Yes," I whispered. "I deserve them." Ethan sighed. "It just happened." "When? Does it matter?" "Yes," I screamed. "It matters to me." Silence filled the room. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe properly. I noticed the way my knees trembled, how my fingers went numb. My body understood before my heart did. Then Lena stepped forward from the corner. "Iris, please don't make this worse." I stared at her. "You're here too?" She avoided my eyes. "I was trying to help." "Help who?" I asked. "You," she said weakly. I laughed again, louder this time. "By lying to me?" "I didn't think you could handle it," she replied. "So you decided for me?" I said. "Just like them." Ethan finally spoke again. "I never meant to hurt you." "But you did," I said. "Every day." He nodded once. "I know." That was it. No apology. No fight. Just acceptance. The realization crushed me. I wasn't worth fighting for. I had already been replaced. "Say it," I told him. "Say what?" "Say you chose her." He looked at Amelia, then back at me. I did. Something inside me broke cleanly, quietly. I felt it leave me, like air escaping a punctured chest. I took a step back. "I trusted you." "I know," he said. "I loved you." "I know." Those two words destroyed me more than lies ever could. Lena whispered my name, but I didn't answer. I felt empty, exposed, humiliated. I walked out without another word. My legs barely held me up, but I kept moving. Behind me were the people I loved most, standing together, untouched by the damage they caused. That night, my old life ended, not with screaming or revenge, but with the quiet understanding that I was alone, and the love I believed in had never been mine at all. I stayed inside my room and let the silence punish me. Every memory replayed, without mercy. "You trusted too easily," my mind whispered. "You deserved this." I stared at my phone, willing it to light up. It didn't. Sophia called first. "Iris, please talk to me." "I'm tired," I said. "You're hurting," she replied. I said I'm tired. I repeated, then ended the call. At night, sleep refused me. I kept hearing Ethan's voice saying, "I know." I asked the empty room. Was I that easy to replace? The walls didn't answer. My messages stayed unread. My calls went unanswered. His silence felt deliberate, like a final lesson. Sophia tried again the next day. "I'm outside." "Go home," I said through the door. "You don't have to be alone," she insisted. "I do," I replied. "Please." When she left, the quiet pressed harder. I scrolled through old texts. I'll always be here. You're my future. I laughed bitterly. Liar, I muttered, even though he couldn't hear me. Or maybe he could and just didn't care. I blamed myself for everything. You ignored the signs, I told my reflection. You begged to be loved. My eyes looked dull, unfamiliar. I didn't recognize the woman staring back. Another night passed without sleep. My phone buzzed once. My heart jumped. It was Lena. I'm sorry, she wrote. I deleted the message without replying. Sorry didn't rebuild what she helped destroy. I typed Ethan's name, erased it, typed it again. Finally, I sent. Why wasn't I enough? The message showed delivered. Hours passed. Then days. No reply. That silence hurt more than his confession ever did. Sophia texted, I'm worried. I answered, don't be. I love you, she wrote. I stared at the words and felt nothing. I stopped eating properly. I stopped caring about time. Morning and night blurred together. Sometimes I whispered, I loved you, just to hear it aloud. Other times I said, I hate you, hoping it would hurt less. One evening, Sophia knocked again. Open the door. I can't, I said. Why? Because if I do, I whispered, I'll fall apart. She stayed quiet, then said softly, you already have. Her honesty stung, but I didn't argue. After she left, I slid down the door and cried until my chest ached. I wasn't angry yet. I wasn't planning revenge. I was just empty. I felt erased, like I had loved so deeply that nothing of me remained. In his silence, Ethan told me everything. I hadn't mattered enough to explain. I lay on the floor and thought, this is what being forgotten feels like. I reached the point where crying no longer helped. The pain stayed, sharp and steady. One morning, I whispered to myself, if I keep sinking, no one will pull me out. Hearing my own voice startled me. It sounded tired, but alive. Sophia came again, this time sitting on the floor outside my door. I'm not leaving, she said. You don't have to stay, I replied. I want to, she said. You matter. I closed my eyes. I don't feel like I do. Later that week, I sat across from Dr. Brooks, my hands clenched together. I feel weak, I admitted. You feel hurt, she corrected gently. I let it destroy me, I said. You let yourself feel, she replied. That's different. Sophia spoke before I could stop her. She's afraid to stand alone. I nodded slowly. If I stop holding on, I'll disappear. Dr. Brooks leaned forward. Or you'll finally see who you are without them. The words stayed with me. That night, I stared at my phone again. Ethan's name still sat there, heavy and tempting. I didn't delete it.
I didn't text him either.
For the first time, I did nothing. Sophia noticed the change the next day. You didn't cry today, she said carefully. I didn't beg either, I answered. She smiled. That's progress. It doesn't feel like strength, I said. It never does at first, she replied. During my next session, Dr. Brooks asked, what do you want now? I want the pain to stop, I said honestly. It won't, she replied. But you can stop letting it decide for you. I went home and packed away the reminders. Not thrown out, just moved aside. I told myself, distance is not weakness. Saying it out loud made my chest feel lighter. That evening, a message finally came. We should talk, Ethan wrote. I stared at the screen for a long time. My hands trembled, but my heart stayed quiet. I typed, erased, then typed again.
Not now.
I sent it before fear could stop me. Sophia watched me carefully. Are you okay? I don't know, I said. But I'm choosing myself. She hugged me tightly. That's enough. I didn't forgive him. I didn't understand everything. I just stopped chasing answers that only hurt me. I chose silence instead of explanations. I chose space instead of hope. Later, alone in my room, I said softly, I'm still here. The words felt small but real. I wasn't healed. I wasn't strong yet. But I was breathing without asking permission. That night, for the first time since everything fell apart, I slept. Not peacefully, not deeply, but willingly. I decided I would rebuild, not to prove anything to anyone, but because I deserved to live past the pain that tried to erase me. I went back to work without telling anyone why. Mrs. Carter noticed immediately. "You're early," she said, looking up from her desk. "I needed the quiet," I replied. She nodded. "Quiet can be productive." She gave me more responsibility than before. "I think you're capable of more," she said one afternoon. "I'm not sure I am," I answered honestly. "That's because you've been shrinking," she replied. "Stop doing that." Her words stayed with me as I focused on tasks, deadlines, and small victories. When I finished a project, she said, "See? You didn't fall apart." "I didn't," I admitted, surprised. "You were never broken," she said. "Just distracted." I stopped answering Lena's messages. There was no confrontation, no final speech. Just silence. She sent, "Can we talk?" I didn't reply. I realized I didn't owe her closure. The quiet felt firm, protective, and necessary. One evening at work, Daniel sat across from me in the break room. "You always stay late," he said. "I work better then," I replied. "Mind if I sit?" "I don't," I said, meaning it. He didn't ask personal questions. He talked about deadlines and coffee quality. When I finally said, "I'm not great company lately," he smiled gently. "You don't have to be." That made me pause. I wasn't used to people not demanding pieces of me. "I'm rebuilding," I told him. "That takes time," he said. "I respect that." Days passed quietly. I worked, went home, slept, repeated. Mrs. Carter stopped me once and said, "You look steadier." "I feel different," I said. "Different is good," she replied. Daniel and I shared lunches without expectations. "You don't talk much about yourself," he noted once. "I'm learning who I am," I said. "That's important work," he answered. I noticed changes in myself. I spoke up in meetings. I said no when I was tired. When Ethan's name crossed my mind, it no longer crushed me. It passed like a distant echo. One afternoon, Mrs. Carter said, "I'm proud of you." I blinked. "For what?" "For choosing yourself," she replied. That night, I looked at my reflection again. The scars were still there, quiet but visible. I touched my chest and whispered, "You survived." The words didn't hurt. Daniel walked me out one evening. "You seem stronger," he said. "I'm just standing again," I replied. "That's strength," he said simply. I didn't rush healing. I didn't announce it. I rebuilt in silence, brick by brick. And for the first time since everything shattered, I felt something close to pride. Not because I had moved on, but because I hadn't given up on myself. Ethan's message arrived on a quiet afternoon.
Hey.
Long time. Hope you're doing okay. I read it once, then put my phone down. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. That scared me more than panic ever did. An hour later, another message came. Did I do something wrong? I laughed softly. "You did everything wrong," I said to the empty room, but I didn't type it. That evening, he called. I answered because I wanted to hear the difference. "Hey," he said, trying to sound normal. "Hi," I replied. There was a pause. "You sound distant." "I am," I said calmly. "I was thinking about you," he continued. "I'm sure you were," I replied. "That's not fair," he said. "I'm not trying to be fair," I answered. "I'm being honest."
He sighed.
"You didn't even ask how I've been." "I don't need to," I said. "That hurts," he admitted. "I know," I replied. Silence stretched between us. I didn't rush to fill it. "You've changed," he said finally. "Yes," I agreed. "Did someone help you?" "No," I said. "I helped myself." The desperation slipped through his voice then. "Can we meet?" "I don't see the point," I replied. "I need closure," he said quickly. "I already have mine," I answered.
He didn't call again that night.
The next day, Noah messaged me.
"Can we talk?"
We met briefly, and he looked tired. "He's not doing well," Noah said. "I'm sorry to hear that," I replied, and meant it without guilt. "He keeps saying you won't answer," Noah continued. "I answer when I choose to," I said. Noah nodded slowly. "He didn't think you'd leave quietly." "I didn't leave quietly," I corrected. I left completely. Noah hesitated. He regrets it.
I don't doubt that, I said.
He lost more than he expected, Noah added. I did too, I replied. The difference is I survived it. That night, Ethan sent another message.
Please talk to me.
I miss you. I stared at the words and felt nothing sharp. I typed back, I hope you find peace. Then I turned my phone face down. The next week he tried again. I don't recognize my life anymore, he said during a brief call. I recognize mine, I answered. You used to wait for me, he said quietly. I used to, I replied. I don't anymore. His breathing changed. So that's it. Yes, I said. You're really done. I am. When the call ended, I sat still for a moment. I felt steady, not cold. I realized the power had shifted without effort or revenge. I wasn't silent because I was broken. I was silent because I was free.
He was waiting now.
Waiting for replies, for forgiveness, for a version of me that no longer existed. I went back to my work, my life, my quiet progress. For the first time, his absence didn't hurt. It confirmed something important. I had moved forward, and he was finally noticing because I was no longer looking back. Ethan asked for closure on a rainy evening. Just one conversation, he said over the phone. I need to understand how we ended like this. We ended because you chose something else, I replied. That's not fair, he said. I'm not here to be fair, I answered. When I hung up, memories rushed in without permission. His laugh. Our late talks. The version of myself that waited. I closed my eyes and whispered, don't go back. My chest tightened, but I stayed where I was. Daniel noticed the shift immediately. You're quiet, he said as we walked together after work. He wants to talk, I admitted. And, do you want to? He asked. I want peace, I replied. He nodded. Then protect it. That night, Ethan sent a long message.
I never stopped thinking about you.
I didn't realize what I was losing. I read it slowly. My anger stirred, sharp and tempting. I wanted to tell him everything he broke. I wanted him to feel it. Instead, I said out loud, hurting him won't heal me. Daniel called later. How are you holding up? I'm angry, I said honestly. That's allowed, he replied. Just don't let it drive. I don't want revenge, I admitted. I just don't want the past to own me. Then don't give it space, he said gently. Ethan tried again the next day. I miss who you were with me, he said. I miss who I was before I trusted you, I replied. That's cruel, he said. No, I answered. It's true. He lowered his voice. I made mistakes. You made choices, I corrected. Can't you forgive me? I can forgive, I said. I just don't need to return. The silence that followed felt heavy but clean. I noticed my hands were steady. My voice didn't shake. The memories still hurt, but they didn't control me anymore. Later, Daniel asked, Did you say what you needed to say? I said enough, I replied. That's strength, he said. I thought strength was confrontation, I admitted. Sometimes, he said, it's restraint. That night, I sat alone and replayed old moments, but they felt distant, like scenes from another life. I realized revenge didn't have to be loud. It didn't require cruelty or proof. Walking away, without bitterness, was its own kind of justice. Ethan sent one last message. I wish you'd fight for us. I typed back, I am fighting. Just not for us. Then I turned off my phone. The anger faded into something calmer. Not forgiveness, not forgetfulness, but release. I breathed deeply and felt grounded again. The past tried to pull me back, but it failed. I understood then that closure wasn't a conversation. It was a decision. I didn't need him to understand my silence. I only needed to honor it. I didn't hear the news from Ethan. I heard it from everywhere else. Have you talked to him? Sophia asked carefully one evening. No, I replied. She hesitated. Amelia left. I paused.
Oh, that's all, she asked.
That's all, I said honestly. Daniel heard it too. Work gossip travels fast, he said during lunch. I'm not surprised, I replied. She moved out suddenly, he added. I hope she finds what she's looking for, I said, and meant it without bitterness. Later, Noah called. Things are bad, he admitted. I'm sorry, I said. He thought it would be easier, Noah continued. Easier than honesty? I asked. Noah went quiet. He didn't expect to lose everything. I listened without interrupting. Months ago, those words would have felt like victory. Now they felt distant, almost unreal. I didn't plan this, I said finally. I know, Noah replied. That's what scares him. Lena's name came up next, from an unexpected place. A mutual friend said, no one trusts her anymore. I see, I replied. She keeps asking about you, the friend added. I wish her well, I said, and ended the call. That surprised even me. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel relief. I felt clarity. Their choices were finally meeting consequences without my involvement. Daniel noticed my calm. You're quiet today, he said. I'm processing, I answered. Angry? No, I said after a moment. Detached. That night, Ethan tried calling again. I watched the phone vibrate and let it stop. My heart didn't jump. My chest didn't ache. I thought, this is what moving on feels like. Sophia asked later, do you feel bad for him? I feel human, I replied. That's not an answer, she said. It is, I insisted. I don't wish him pain, but I don't carry it either. Another message came through Noah. He says he ruined everything. I typed back, that's something he has to sit with. Then I put my phone away. I realized something important in that moment. His regret wasn't my responsibility. His loneliness wasn't my burden. I had spent too long carrying emotions that didn't belong to me. Daniel said quietly, you didn't do anything. I know, I replied. That's rare, he added. Most people try to interfere. I used to, I admitted. Not anymore. Days passed and the updates slowed. Amelia was gone. Lena was isolated. Ethan was silent. The world kept moving and so did I. There was no dramatic downfall, no scene of apology. Just quiet consequences unfolding in real time. One evening, I looked out the window and said softly, this isn't revenge. Daniel asked, what is it? Balance, I replied. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I simply understood. Karma didn't need my help. It never did. Letting go didn't make me cold. It made me free. For the first time, I felt something solid settle inside me. I was no longer watching his life collapse with pain or hope. I was watching it without attachment. And that was when I knew I had truly stepped out of a story that once broke me. I looked at myself in the mirror one morning and barely recognized the woman staring back. You survived, I whispered. Not perfectly, not flawlessly, but I had survived. Daniel knocked lightly on my door. Mind if I come in? Of course, I said, though I wasn't sure why I felt nervous. He smiled softly. You seem different. I feel different, I replied honestly. Not lighter, exactly, but steadier. He nodded. I've been meaning to tell you something. I waited. My chest tightened just enough to notice it. I like you, he said quietly. More than I should. I blinked. I appreciate that, I said. It's fine if you don't feel the same, he added quickly. I just wanted to be honest. You are, I said. Thank you. We sat in silence for a moment. I'm not ready for love, I admitted. That's okay, he said. Take all the time you need. I'll wait. No one should wait, I replied. Not anymore. I need to move at my own pace. He smiled again. I like that about you. And I like that you respect it, I said. Later, I reflected on the months since everything fell apart. I had rebuilt myself quietly, piece by piece. Work, routines, boundaries, they weren't just distractions. They were anchors. I no longer needed validation from anyone who had left or hurt me. One afternoon, Sophia called. You sound happy, she said. I'm calm, I replied. Happy is still complicated. That's still progress, she said. You trust yourself again. I do, I admitted. Not fully, not blindly, but enough. Even Ethan's absence no longer haunted me. His regret was distant, irrelevant to the life I was claiming. Lena's betrayal had faded into a memory, sharp only when I chose to remember. And Amelia? A shadow that barely crossed my thoughts. Daniel stayed as a friend that evening. "I'm glad you trust yourself again," he said. "I had to," I said. "It's the only way to be ready for anything real." He reached out, and I took his hand lightly. "No pressure," he said. "None," I replied. I felt the strength settle deeper than before. I didn't need to rush love. I didn't need to seek revenge or explanation. I only needed to honor myself, my choices, and my pace. Looking out the window, I whispered to no one in particular. This is me. Strong, steady, alive. My reflection nodded back, calm and unshakable. I had finally reclaimed my story and myself. For the first time in years, I wasn't defined by loss, betrayal, or absence. I was defined by resilience, quiet strength, and the woman I had chosen to become. Ethan showed up unexpectedly one evening. I didn't open the door at first. "Iris," he called softly. "I'm listening," I said from behind it. He paused. "Can we talk?" "You can try," I replied, calm but distant. He stepped inside carefully, like he feared breaking me further.
I was wrong," he began.
"Yes," I said quietly. "You were." "I didn't realize, not until it was too late," he admitted. "Too late," I echoed. He looked at me with something close to desperation. "I miss you. I miss us." "I'm gone," I said. "Not just physically, but in everything that mattered to us." "I thought I could fix it," he said. "You didn't try when it mattered," I replied. Silence fell between us, heavy but controlled. My chest tightened, but my voice remained steady. "You caused pain, Ethan. Real, lasting pain." "I know," he said. "And I hate myself for it." "You should," I said. "Not because I'm cruel, but because it's true." He swallowed hard. "Can we start over?" "No," I answered firmly. "I don't start over with the people who chose themselves over me." "I deserve forgiveness," he whispered. "You deserve nothing from me," I said, "and that is your lesson." He looked away, ashamed, then back. "I never realized how much I took for granted." "Now you do," I said softly. "And I hope that hurts enough to change you." There was no pleading in my voice, no tears this time. Just clarity. I had survived his betrayal, his silence, and even his remorse. That clarity felt like victory. He stepped back. "I'm sorry, truly." "I know," I said. But I didn't feel relief. I didn't forgive him aloud. I simply acknowledged the moment and let it pass. Daniel had texted earlier, asking if I was ready. I realized then that I was. Ready to let go entirely, not for him, not for anyone, but for myself. Ethan lingered a moment longer. "I hope one day you can." "You hope," I said. "I live." He nodded, silent. Then he left. The door closed behind him, final and quiet. I walked to the window and breathed deeply. The past no longer gripped me. I didn't look back. I didn't wait. I didn't question myself. I whispered to no one. I choose me. Completely. My reflection nodded back. Strong, unshakable, free. The weight lifted. The story that once broke me ended. Not with vengeance, not with reunion, but with release. I had closed the chapter of him, and nothing could pull me back. The morning light felt different, softer, like it belonged to me alone. I made coffee, quietly savoring the smell and warmth. No one was waiting for me to smile, to forgive, to soften. I poured it slowly, enjoying the silence. Daniel called as I sat by the window. "Morning," he said casually. "Morning," I replied. "I'm awake early today." "Planning something?" "Just living," I said. "For myself." We met later at a small cafe. The conversation was easy, light, yet I noticed how naturally I could hold space for someone without losing myself. Daniel smiled. "You're calm today." "I've been practicing," I said. "You've grown," he said quietly. "I've learned to stand alone," I replied. On my walk home, I passed a couple arguing loudly. I didn't feel the pull to intervene or comfort. I simply watched and let them be. For years, I would have carried someone else's drama as my own. Not anymore. At home, I arranged the small apartment exactly how I liked it. The quiet filled every corner. I picked up a journal, writing down thoughts I never allowed myself to say aloud. I am enough. I am steady. I am mine. Each word strengthened the calm inside me. Later, Sophia dropped by. You seem different, she said, observing my composed face. I feel different, I replied. Not lighter, not empty, just free. That's the best kind of change, she said softly. I paused, remembering the life I once imagined with Ethan, the future I built around him. It felt distant now, like someone else's story. I no longer wanted that pain disguised as love. I no longer needed him, his apologies, or his absence to define me. Daniel's hand found mine across the table. You trust yourself again, he said. I do, I replied. And I don't rush love. I let it find me naturally, without fear. That's rare, he said. And beautiful. I've finally learned, I said, smiling, that my peace is my victory. That night, I sat by the window, gazing at the city lights. The past whispered faintly, but it no longer dictated my thoughts. I whispered to myself, I choose this life, my life. He was not part of it. He never would be. And that knowledge didn't sting. It settled softly, a proof of strength, not revenge. I breathed deeply, letting the calm wrap around me. I had been reborn, not for rage, not for payback, but for serenity. I had chosen my own future, and it was mine to live fully, quietly, and with unwavering self-respect. For the first time in years, I slept without fear, without longing, without chains. I had stepped completely into the life I was always meant to claim, and that was my true victory.